Hey everybody, let's do it. Welcome to the NFL Power Rankings Show, Week 14 edition. We are presented to you by Energizer. Thanks for being here, everybody. On one side of the screen, the man who puts these rankings together, the engine without which this car could not drive. In Chicago, Eric Edholm. How are you, sir? Great to see you.
I'm doing well. We're a month from the playoffs. You got the Christmas Ravens 49ers game to look forward to. There's so much in front of us, Andrew.
You're looking forward to Christmas, man. I mean, seriously, you're that guy. You're that guy that starts doing your Christmas shopping like right after Labor Day. Are you that guy?
I haven't started yet. Is that bad?
Okay, neither have I. I haven't either. By the way, my name is Andrew Siciliano. I'm in our studios here in Los Angeles. Welcome to December football. I'll do my shopping during those December 24th games. Okay.
Yep.
We'll plan ahead, as always. Scan everything on your screen right there, the QR code. Go to NFL.com. Let's get the rankings out of the way. The San Francisco 49ers, who went into Philadelphia and pushed the Eagles around, are the new number one. We thought that would happen. We knew that would happen. It did happen. Followed by the Ravens, and then the Eagles, and then their opponent this week, the Cowboys, and then the Dolphins, who scrimmaged the Commanders, and then the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. But let's make right out of the gate our team of the week, presented by Truist, the San Francisco 49ers. Eric, we said last week that the winner of that game in Philadelphia would be the new number one team. So you're a man of your word. They are the number one team. Not surprising. I guess the question here is, how much better are the 49ers than everybody else? It's the Niners and the field. How big is the gap?
Yeah, I think that's the way you have to frame it. Obviously, some people are still going to refer back to that 3-game losing streak. But look at the body of work. First of all, they could have won 2 of those games. And, what Brock Purdy has done. By the way, we're now entering the 1-year anniversary of Brock Purdy taking over. It feels like it's been about 3 years since he had the elbow surgery even. But, averaging almost 10 yards per attempt, full healthy offense in place right now. Trent Williams leading the O-line. Obviously, Deebo Samuel and what he can do, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. It's impossible to stop these guys when they're at full strength, I believe. And defensively, they're getting after it too. And this was as big a statement victory as we've seen this year. So right now, having just beaten the Eagles in their house, I don't care how many tough games they've played lately, they put themselves a measurable distance ahead of the field at this point.
You mentioned that 1-year anniversary of Purdy making his debut. His passer rating in that 1 year, 114, which is the best in football. And honestly, I was kind of sick of the 49ers griping and all this. We changed the quarterback rules in the offseason because the Niners mismanaged their roster last year, just full stop. Right? That's why they didn't have a quarterback in that NFC Championship game. But they shut everyone up. To their credit, they went in there and shut everyone, including the Eagles security director, up. And they are the best team. I mean, I think if you take the rest of the NFC, whether it's the Eagles or the Cowboys or the Lions or whomever, they are simply in a different class.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a team that scored 42 against Philly and Dallas and had 5 games on the road with 30-plus points. That's a good opening statement right there.
And I'm a Browns fan, but if Jake Moody hits that field goal, it's different.
Right.
Clearly, he missed it. Cleveland deserved to win that game. But there's so many what-ifs during the season. That certainly is one of them. We're going to skip over the Ravens. We'll get back to them. Don't be mad, Baltimore. And we're going to get to the Cowboys because this week it's the Eagles and the Cowboys, this time in Dallas. The Cowboys come in well-rested, obviously, but they had a close call against the Seahawks. You're still sitting there at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe in this team's ability to put up points. Dak Prescott is in the middle of an MVP campaign, I think, or at least to be one of the candidates for that award. Purdy certainly has to be in the mix as well. But a win over the Eagles would go a long way towards helping Dak. Their offense isn't the issue right now. It wasn't the issue the other night. Obviously, they came back and looked kind of comfortable doing it, but Deron Bland, after a tremendous season, getting picked on mercilessly in that game, even with a pick, you have to say he had a rough night. And some of that second level of the Cowboys defense hasn't exactly tightened up around him at times. So, they didn't get anything from Micah until late. it required a lot of effort defensively. And look, I mean, this is a team that we were talking about being a great defensive club. Both they and Philly, I think, come into this game with defensive questions, no doubt about it at this point.
Yeah, considering the Eagles' defensive issues, I think I would lean Dallas in this game. In the rematch,
Yeah.
they could have, would have won it in Philadelphia. They blew the late game management. Stunning, of course, down the stretch in Philadelphia. But I still think the Cowboys are a bit here of the NFC's Miami Dolphins. Show me a good win. Show me consistent good wins. I haven't seen it yet. This would be that good win for them. And maybe they get it. All right, let's get back to the Ravens. What a week they had. They got to sit at home, get healthy, and watch the Chiefs, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Jaguars all lose. This one, though, is not easy. They get the upstart Rams this week. You have the Ravens as the best team in the AFC.
I do. Yeah. I mean, again, you could certainly sort of poke some holes in some, two close home losses to teams they probably should have beaten, let some other teams hang around like Pittsburgh and the Chargers and whatnot. But this is a pretty complete team right now. And you made a great point, right? Sitting at home watching this scenario unfold where it's gotten easier for them to win the AFC North. It's gotten better for them to cruise to that number one slot in the AFC playoffs. So great setup, late season bye, get your guys rested. Doesn't sound like they'll make any movements on the receiver or tight end front. They like their guys, but they're asking, more out of Zay Flowers and OBJ and guys like that right now. So I'll be curious to see if that offense can still kind of hum the way we had seen it with Andrews at times. But you're right, this is a tough game. Teams aren't that familiar with each other. Rams come in hot. Their offense has done plenty of work lately too. So, again, does this fall into the category of a Colts or Cleveland type of game? Or is this more of the Detroit Lions or Seattle type game where they dominate a very good opponent at home?
I was at the game in L.A. this past Sunday. Rams look good. Rams can run the football now. Kyron Williams makes that much of a difference, and the Rams' O-line is playing fantastic. We'll get to the Rams coming up in a second. But the Ravens schedule, you got the Rams, the Jaguars, the Niners. That's a Christmas Day game or night game. And then Miami. It is a tough stretch here for the Ravens to close it out. A much-needed list of teams losing for them when they sat at home week 13. All right, the Dolphins. 1 week it's Jalen Phillips. Now it's Jerome Baker. They've got a lot of injuries. Jalen Ramsey can't cover up all those defensive injuries. But again, it's another week in which they beat up on a team they're supposed to beat up. In this case, it's the Commanders. You still think they're the fifth best team in the NFL?
I think they have the fifth best resume, even with that obvious hole that you mentioned with Dallas, right? Show me the money. Show me a good win. And that's ultimately the question with the Miami Dolphins. Now, they'll get their chance late, right? They've got Dallas and Baltimore to close out the season. But we're going to have to be patient here and take a couple of home games against teams that have kind of fallen out of the race in the Titans and Jets. So, again, they keep winning games against lesser opponents. It's a tough team to rank, but Devin Achane coming back and having a big second half, I think it was a good sign. Didn't look like he was on a pitch count, Andrew. So, if they really have that run game at full strength, and depends on the offensive line, Armstead and other guys getting hurt up front Sunday, that to me could separate them, and that could really justify that high ranking, because when they run the ball well, they seem to be a very dangerous team and give opponents, whether they're good or not, the most trouble, I think.
Yeah, and after Tennessee and the Jets, they do get the Cowboys and then the Ravens. Yep. So they do go up in weight class. And again, the Bills, week 18, who knows what that game is going to mean for Buffalo or for the Dolphins. Maybe they have a shot at number one. Maybe.
Yeah.
They still are sitting at number one right now. That game is going to mean something here. And it's going to be a good test for them in those final 3 games of the regular season to show that they can beat good teams before they get to the postseason and before they get to January. The Chiefs went to Lambeau, and I kind of sort of called it this week. I can't take credit. I foreshadowed it. I didn't have the guts to say that the Packers would beat the Chiefs. But they ran into trouble there, and Kansas City is now down 2, Eric. They are your 6th team in your power rankings.
Yeah, and had Jacksonville won Monday night, right? Had they not had a spate of injuries, maybe they would have jumped ahead of them. So, yeah, I mean, it's a situation where we're used to the Chiefs playing their best football late in the season, kind of streaking into the postseason, having that offense carry the weight. And we've gotten used to the idea of the defense being kind of their bedrock now and giving them that level of insurance, if you will. But that's 2 straight games now where the defense has put them in a 2-score deficit, right? That puts even more pressure on Patrick Mahomes to be perfect. And Andrew, I don't know about you, but watching at home, there were some funny looking passes that came out. Now, credit the Packers for pressuring them and covering those receivers and tightening those windows and everything. But boy, it doesn't look pretty. And you're used to ugly plays by Mahomes every now and then, right? It doesn't always look right, but more and more it's becoming the norm. And it's just surprising to see them not be able to push the ball down the field more readily.
And listen, I know Chiefs fans want to get upset about the lack of pass interference calls
Absolutely.
at the end.
Yep.
The one on MVS, certainly. I don't think there should have been one on the play in the end zone at the end. I mean, that wasn't. Was it a push in the back? Of course. Was it even close to some of the Hail Mary penalties we should have seen thrown in other games? No, not at all. But as you point out in your story here, Travis Kelce was the only guy to catch a pass of longer than 16 yards. And they do not still, even though Rashee Rice has made some plays this year, have enough consistency other than Travis Kelce. They are still the 3 seed in the AFC because, let's get to the Jaguars, Jacksonville lost, and they also lost their quarterback. If Jacksonville had pulled out the victory, as all expected on Monday, against Jake Browning and the Bengals, we would be sitting here today with the Jaguars as the 1 seed, Eric, in the AFC. And even though it looks as if they've escaped the worst-case scenario, it is merely a high ankle sprain, Doug Peterson says. I mean, that could be a couple of weeks. Jacksonville is number 8 in your rankings and now number 4 in the AFC.
Yeah, suddenly a team that we have some major doubts about, and obviously the injury situation with Kirk and the core muscle, as you pointed out, also Lawrence too, gives us some major doubt about them. But even before Trevor Lawrence got hurt, this defense was getting worked over. I think too reliant on taking the football away from teams, and the only turnover they got Monday night was that gift of an interception by Tyler Boyd. So, look, I mean, they've got to find some solutions on that side of the ball. They've got to find a playmaker to step up for C.J. Beathard, you would assume, who had a pretty nice overtime. He had some moments out there. Had the one big play call back by a holding call that was really devastating. But 2-4 at home. They're terrific outside of Jacksonville. No arguments there. But all of a sudden, a lot of questions for a team, as you pointed out, that could have been in that number 1 slot had the injuries not happened, had the win gone the other way.
Yeah, it's crazy. The 2-4 at home, Doug Peterson actually cited home crowd noise as an issue for defensive communication issues.
That's right.
He didn't say there were issues, but then he got defensive and said the crowd was loud, making noise as good fans to try to disrupt Jake Browning and the Bengals. They are 6-0 away from their own building. Maybe they should be a wild card team. Maybe there's a silver lining there. Are the Packers making the playoffs, everybody? Funny how the pendulum swings the other way now for everyone that thought Jordan Love didn't have it. That's coming up next on the NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. But wait, there's more on the NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. The Houston Texans, and it's just a wild game there, go up to number 9 with yet another victory. The Cleveland Browns are 10 with Joe Flacco not moving. Steelers have a quarterback injury. They are down 2 to 11. The Bills, the Colts, the Packers, the Seahawks, and the Denver Broncos are sitting there at 16. Let's talk about the Houston Texans, Eric, at home. They lose Tank Dell, which is a big deal. But they are still looking good even as the 3rd team in the AFC South. If I had told you that the 3rd team in the AFC South would be number 9 on your power rankings heading into Week 14, you would have said what?
Yeah, couldn't have imagined it, right? And the Tennessee Titans weren't one of those teams, right? I mean, obviously we've seen the Colts kind of get off to a good start, struggle, get back into it. We've seen the Texans have a wild roller coaster ride this year, and it's going to continue with the Dell injury. I'm sorry, that's a massive blow, as you pointed out. Nico Collins has stepped up, though. That's good. I think they need more out of Dalton Schultz, out of Noah Brown, John Mechie III, whoever else. Somebody has to give C.J. Stroud a weapon, but I'm impressed with him, obviously, and also with the defense that made 3 huge interceptions in the last 16 minutes of the game. So they've got a formula. Losing last week at home to Jacksonville was tough, but Jacksonville now opens the door back up with the loss Monday night. So, the division's in play, and there's all of a sudden a lot of hope heading into this game.
I mean, here's how bonkers and here's how tightly packed everything is in both conferences, but especially here in the AFC. Right now, the Texans don't have a playoff spot. If the playoffs were to start today, they're out. They're the 8th seed. You have them as the number 9 overall team in football.
It's America's team, baby. I mean, everyone loves them, right?
America's
I think
team.
Yeah, they scare the heck out of people. They can go on the road and win games. They can beat Joe Burrow. They can have those type of afternoons. They've also lost to the Panthers, though. They've had some losses that they've let kind of slip through their fingers. So what we know is that almost every game comes down to a thrilling finish with them, and that alone makes them a pretty interesting club.
All right, Browns 10. They get the Browns in a couple of weeks as well. Steelers, Bills, and then the Colts at 13. Texans and the Colts in Indianapolis, Week 18, likely means something. You know that the Colts are tied for the longest active winning streak right now in the NFL with 4?
Right? Yeah. 3 teams with 4 wins. They're one of them, baby. I mean, I thought they were completely out of it at 3-5, I want to say. And, it just looked like things weren't working out with Gardner Minshew. But to his credit, made a lot of plays Sunday when the run game wasn't working. Jonathan Taylor was out. Michael Pittman keeps adding dollar signs to his name in the offseason. Alec Pierce stepped up with probably his best game of the year. Had a big catch there at the end, had 4 big ones in the game. So, yeah, you're right. They find ways, and I think special teams is a huge reason why. Had the Titans not had a reason to fire their special teams coordinator the next day after the game, maybe the Colts don't win this game, and we might have more questions about their candidacy as a playoff team. But again, Shane Steichen has done a pretty masterful job handling all the twists and turns that have been thrown at him.
Absolutely. He's in the running for Coach of the Year. They are in Cincinnati this week for a fun and now very relevant game against Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Time to make some power moves at home. They're presented by Energizer. The Green Bay Packers are the biggest movers of the week. They are up 14 after beating the Chiefs. Where were they a couple of weeks ago? Week 11, Eric. They were 26th.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like they've gone up 14 spots in the last 2 weeks, right? It's pretty amazing, but you got to put a lot of it on Jordan Love, the guy who Brian Gutekunst, the GM, when he had his little midseason press conference, they said these games down the stretch are pretty big. And you had people in Green Bay assuming that was a shot across his bow. Well, Love has answered it, right? Protection has been pretty good without David Bakhtiari. They haven't had Aaron Jones the last couple games. Christian Watson, the relationship with him and Love on the field looked non-existent for 8 or 9 weeks. Now, all of a sudden, that is cooking. The other young receivers, the tight ends have stepped up. So it's been tremendous to watch and exciting, certainly for Packers fans. But yeah, there were a lot of people who thought Love during that interception streak he had and all the missed passes and the missed opportunities, maybe he was going to be a one-year guy. Now I think these most recent games have shown us that you can get him in the postseason this year and kind of cast it forward going forward.
And listen, I'm not yet ready to crown him, but he did play well. He has been playing well. And it's another example of how patience is needed when judging any quarterback's development, even one that waited 3 years on the bench. The pendulum back and forth in September. Oh, my God, Jordan Love is the truth. The Packers nailed it. And then midseason, wow, all right, they got to move on. And now look, maybe he gets him into the postseason. This week he battles Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants, as DeVito is going to get another start, that game in Jersey. We have the Seahawks at 15. Are the Seahawks in trouble at home? You dropped them only 1, but they got to go to San Francisco this week.
Gave him credit for a good effort at Dallas, and Geno looked a lot healthier, but I think every game at this point feels pretty existential, right? They went into the bye early in the season. Everybody thought, wow, this is a really interesting team all of a sudden, and they just haven't found that offensive consistency. But I give them a little hope in the rematch against San Francisco. Remember, they blasted them on Thanksgiving because Geno did look a lot healthier, a lot better, but that defense, where they have one true stop against Dallas, you can't have that against San Francisco. So if they have any hope, they've got to win this one and keep going from there. Maybe win out at this point.
Yeah, and the big thing against them is that they got swept by the Rams.
That's
and
right.
The Rams won again. They get to 6-6, so the Seahawks legitimately have to win some, and they have to do it now. Coming up, I mentioned Jake Browning and the Bengals. They're a legit threat. Where does Ed Home have the fighting Jake Brownings? That's next on the NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. Let's roll on here on the NFL Power Ranking Show presented by Energizer. The Minnesota Vikings had a bye. They fall in their bye. Well, whatever. To 17. The Cincinnati Bengals are up 2. What a performance they had on Monday night. Atlanta is 19 and leading a division. The Rams are 20. And the Chargers, the Saints, the Buccaneers, and the Raiders checking in. Eric at home at 25. But I watched that game Monday night, and Steve Wyche and I did the NFL Game Day Final postgame show on NFL Network. And I sat there and I said, not only did the Bengals win and Jake Browning throw for 354, but that this team, if it gets in, I know Lou Anarumo's defense has given up a lot of big plays downfield, but that Jake Browning, from what we saw Monday night, this team can win. I mean, this team can make a run even since 6.
I think I said on this show, correct me if I'm wrong, that I thought Zach Taylor could run about 80% of the offense that he did with Burrow, with Jake Browning. I'm convinced it's now about 99%, right? Maybe some of the movement stuff isn't going to be there, but Browning even did with his legs. He had that long scramble in the second half. He had a goal line rushing touchdown. And oh, by the way, he threw 37 passes. 5 of them hit the ground, and one of them was a clear drop. So, yeah, where has this been? I mean, in 2015, when we first heard Jake Browning's name on the national level as a college freshman, all roads were open. They thought this guy might be something truly special, a top 10 pick kind of guy. Didn't work out that way, but here he is at age, 27 now, getting his opportunity, Andrew, in an unusual circumstance with a very talented team, and he made the most of it in a brilliant performance. I don't know what else you say.
It was brilliant. That sums it up. Also, only Zach Taylor's 5th victory ever as a head coach without Joe Burrow. So Jake Browning did everyone good there in Cincinnati. Time for our, I can't believe I'm going to say this, future champions presented by FanDuel, and they're the Atlanta Falcons. Well, not really, but we're going to put the NFC South up here. The Falcons are at 6-6 at -190 to win the division, followed by the Bucs and the Saints. The Panthers are off the board because the Panthers on Sunday, with their loss to the Buccaneers, became the first team eliminated. The Falcons, Eric, someone's got to win the division, I guess.
They could, but boy, I mean, another listless performance offensively. I mean, under 200 yards of offense. Really, I mean, all but 2 drives, they did nothing, right? And the run game is still there. They still have a defense that's going to make you, really earn your yards against them. But winning 13-8 games in which you have a 3-0 edge in the turnover department doesn't excite me that much, man. I have to say, I'm not feeling it right now. But, they still have a formula that some teams could struggle with. And, what comes with winning a division, a home game. So who knows? They're right now, I guess, the favorites, with the Saints really falling off.
Yep, and they play the Bucs week 18. Maybe that game is for the division, and the loser gets relegated to the XFL. Dare to dream. The Rams are number 20. I hit on them earlier, Eric. They're up 2 spots. I mean, their offensive line and that run game, huge against the Browns.
Absolutely. Physical dominance, right?
Yeah.
In the season, right? I mean, Sean McVay's having to find kind of new ways to win. Matthew Stafford got banged up, receiver injuries with Cooper Kupp. Well, they have that there. When Kyron Williams came back in the lineup, it was seamless. They started running the ball. And oh, by the way, Puka Nacua hasn't gone anywhere. He's still special. Great long run and several great catches in this game. Unbelievable rookie season so far. So, you've got Kyron Williams, you've got Puka Nacua, you've got, Demarcus Robinson playing big role for a team that was, out of it, 2-5, not even looking good, not even having a shot at the playoffs. So pretty amazing stuff.
In our final couple of seconds, 25-32, Bears, Titans, Jets, Giants, Cardinals, Commanders, Patriots, Carolina Panthers. Eric, will you commit right now to giving everyone their money back if any of these teams make the playoffs?
Absolutely. Guarantee 100%. I'll do that.
Okay. The show's for free, by the way, for the record. So there. Eric Edholm, thank you as always for putting up with me. Everyone enjoy Week 14. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Thanks for watching and listening.